Hello friends, how are you today? Well, I have something special I want to share with you today. That is, I want to look at the astrology of the massive wave of energy that was on the chart today, May 7th, 2022. So what I did was I created an astrology chart and did an analysis, and I'd like to present that analysis here to you today. I'm using the tropical astrology system, and what I want to tell you is I've been looking at the waves like this for probably over 2 years now, possibly 3 years, but I haven't talked about it until now. I started adding the astrology in this, I think it was this winter, and I did my first astrology video in the fall, November and December, I think it was, of 2021. I plan to do more of these, but with a wave that was so impactful like this, I'll show you the Schumann Chart here. Oops, that's how I determine the time. Here, this was a massive ejection of a massive transmission of energy. We haven't seen something like this. We haven't seen it since the waves in the spring and summer of last year, but it's really meaningful. And I thought it was worth looking at it in detail like this, because the other reason is because we're at the beginning of the natural new year. The new moon this past, so 1 weekend ago was the beginning of the second month of the natural new year. We are, in many traditions, you can consider Easter as part of that, the start of the new year. You can consider Wesak in the Buddhist tradition, celebrated at the beginning of May, and so on. So the first month of the new year this year was really, it was like about this huge influx of energies came in. We wrapped up the old year, but now like this energy is really like, this is what we're doing for the new year. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you was, I talked about this on my last video, the eye of the needle. I'll link this video below, but when I mirrored the wave, it was like this massive angel wing and the intuitive symbol in the middle, the eye of the needle. I talked a lot about that, and it's very relevant. It's really interesting because what I analyzed from the numbers in the Schumann chart and the intuitive information that I had as a living human being, it really matches with the astrology interpretation. It's so amazing how these things just fold into each other so beautifully. Now, I want to thank Andrea Scully from Notes from the Center of the Spiral. I'm linking her blog below. Andrea and I did this analysis together. I've learned astrology from her, and since I was making this detailed video, I really wanted to go over it with her as well. She's been an astrologer for over 40 years and just amazing insights, and has taught me, so much about how to interpret this information. So I want to thank her for that, and I linked her blog below. She does automatic writing readings, and she also does tarot readings. She's just really incredible with shadow work especially. So I just wanted to recommend her if anyone's interested in that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is say how I interpret this so that you can have an understanding. When most astrologers interpret a chart, they focus on the ascendant or the sun sign, and then they'll go through the 12 houses so that if your sun sign is whatever it is, or your ascendant is whatever it is, then they tell you how that's going to affect you. This is how I like to interpret the chart instead. It's a unique approach. What I like to do is I like to discuss the prominent energies and the prominent stories in the chart. And the reason for this is that you may be a sun sign, like let's say you're a sun sign in Pisces, but you have a ton of planets in Virgo, which is a very different energy than Pisces. Or maybe you have a stellium in, Sagittarius, or, you have something amazing going on, or a critical point in Taurus or in Aries. And so these stories will affect you based upon more than your ascendant and your sun sign. So my recommendation is to listen to the story and then see what resonates within. Because what resonates within, I can tell you, you will find it in your astrology chart. And I do readings. I do astrology readings with people as well as energy readings. There's a link to my contact information below. And if anyone's interested in that, I'm happy to work with you on it. But I see this over and over. Actually, I love applying this to people's lives and solving problems or setting goals or seeing how you can achieve something, because we have so many hidden skills and talents, and we have so many stories in our lives. And the stories are what adds the richness and what creates meaning. So for example, in the current chart, I want to show you where the key stories are. So this is the chart for the Schumann wave, okay? So I look at the geometries of the lines. I look at the planet placements, all the typical stuff that you would look at, okay? And I've added some asteroids in here as well. So we'll talk about whatever is meaningful related to that. But the key energies are in Taurus, first of all. Okay, it's because the sun is at 16 Taurus and Uranus is at 1453, almost 15. So they're only a little over a degree apart. Let's see, 14, 15, 50. Yeah, a degree in like 25 seconds or 26 seconds, something like that. I don't know. So 24 seconds, I don't know, 23. So I can't do math this morning. So that's it. That's the first thing. Okay. And then there's a whole, I'm going to call this like a stellium or a string of pearls here. It includes asteroids, but they all build to a story, and we'll go over that. The second thing is that there's another one right here. It includes Mars and Venus in between them. Neptune and Jupiter. This is in Pisces. Okay. But Venus is in Aries. So, and then the next thing, these are almost like wings, okay? So you have this here, you have Chiron 10 degrees from this set of a string of pearls, and then you have Chiron 10 degrees from this string of pearls. So it's like Chiron is in the center with two wings, just like the mirrored Schumann chart. I mean, it just amazes, these things amaze me. The other really fascinating thing going on here, the ascendant for this chart, which is centered in Tomsk, because I centered it in Tomsk because that's where the machinery is that we get the chart from. So you have Venus and Sagittarius exactly together at the same degree. That's called exactly conjunct. Within minutes, okay, like 11 minutes here. So this is incredibly powerful, and you'll see it bounces off energy with the sun here and this whole string of energies. It is also quincunx the moon, which is in Cancer, its home sign. Okay, so this is another key part of the story. Vesta, the sacred hearth, and Sagittarius structure in Aquarius. The energies of the new age, really. Okay, so then we've got the midheaven in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is, sort of pinging arrows to the future. Great passion. It's a fire sign. And the highest point in the chart is part of fortune. So that's luck and fortune. This is a really interesting part of the reading here. The whole geometries of the chart point to Hygiea. Hygiea is the asteroid of health and wellness, okay? And it's in retrograde, so there's a big review going on here, okay? So you can see here the geometries. You have a magic square, okay, so challenges. You have a kite. The tail of the kite is Hygiea, moving us forward to the sun, to actually Pallas Athena, flanked by the sun. And all this whole string of energies in Uranus. You have a magic rectangle in here. You have a trine. So there's a lot of powerful dynamic energies. And then the last key here, now that's in Sagittarius. Hygiea is in Scorpio. And Hygiea is flanked by part of fortune and vertex. So destiny and good luck. Okay, so this is overall positive. It is, the other thing here is Pluto. It's the only major planet above the horizon here in the chart in the 12th house. So this is the last part of the story in Capricorn. Pluto being about life and death in the 12th house. So this brings a degree of urgency and of dynamism to the choices that we make, because there are life and death choices here. Andrea, in talking about this, she has a lot of knowledge about this. And that was a big thing that she emphasized, that we're looking at life and death choices here for, many different reasons that are in the way the energies play out based upon our individual soul path, our individual choices, our individual wish for how we want to proceed in the current lifetime, or sometimes terrible things happen, and I didn't put Pholus in here, but that would be that. Just shocking things happen and completely change the situation, and they're hard to understand in the moment. And with Uranus so active in the chart, you definitely will have that sort of situation come up as well. Uranus, however, writes all to divine perfection after challenge, after disaster, after things fall apart. So the one way of looking at this energy is the Tower card in the Tarot, the striking the tower and tower falling and crumbling. The old falls and crumbles, okay? And so what happens? We focus on what will be the new. Here's the ascendant, right, where we're moving forward to, the face of the personality of this energy, right, how it's going to express in the world. So here's the first story, right? So the focal point moving forward of the energies, like what these wings around Chiron are, and the moon here in Cancer, are trying to develop, are trying to grow, are trying to foster, is a proper relationship in the home. And it's not just the physical home, the family home, the human home. It's the sacredness of the home. Okay, it's elevated, it's expanding, it's honoring the divinity within the home, in the sacred hearth, the nurturing of family, the nurturing of the mother and father of the couple coming together and producing children. And what is the proper structure, for this? Saturn. And what do we feel? And where is the divine guiding us to produce here for the age of Aquarius, right? Because Pluto's about to move into Aquarius in the next 2 years. And the death and the destruction of what does not support this moving forward is on the table with Pluto in the 12th house above the horizon, just societally, okay? So, yeah, it's pretty, so on the positive side, there's the aspect of renewal here, right? Because we're going to get things into the proper order to move forward into the next, the next age. And I think the ages last like a couple thousand years or whatever. We're talking about like, this is a huge, big deal. And all of us are here at this time. Okay. So getting your house in order. And the first house is the human body, right? The human body, the living soul in the living human body. So getting yourself in order gets your home in order, benefits the social consciousness, Aquarius, okay? And the opposite side of that is Leo, the individual. And what's going on there? Varuna is at 4 degrees. Now, the reason that that's important, it's in relationship with Hygiea at 7 in a wide, so that's about 3 degrees apart. So that's a bit wide, but still in the background of the health and wellness story, Okay, and you've got a Mercury starting this string here at 4 degrees. So it's sextile, it's supporting. This energy supports the unfoldment of this healing down here. Okay. Now, the reason it's important is because Varuna is the god of the sea, in the Hindu god of the sea, of law and order, justice, and Varuna binds sinners. So what that implies is that on an individual level, okay, if we are going to be fast and loose with law and order, Varuna comes in and makes a correction, because binding sinners, okay, again, Andrea and I went through this, but how I view separation, sin is as separation from God, and she has a similar, she's a slightly different word, but a similar point of view on this, and eventually. Binding sinners is about drawing us closer to God, right? Because you bring in justice, and then you have a choice to live in a different way, right? So this implies at an individual level, but affecting the play out of this in our society. And Midheaven here is at 3, so about a degree opposing Varuna. Midheaven is the wise counselor. Okay, so for this to be in wholeness, wisdom and proper action towards God, towards your own relationship with the divinity that you are, bringing out the truth of who you are, has to be in proper balance, right? Amplifying those things assists us in building a proper home in the physical body, in our human life, in our homes, the sacred home, which all of our sacred homes together create the group, right, that we're a part of, the greater social consciousness. And it also implies that, in my view, in the world over, I don't know what period of time, okay, because I don't know how time applies here with this wave, right, what the unfoldment of that is. But it implies that those who have actually broken the law will have consequences, either with God or in the world, okay? So however that works out. Okay, so now let's look at the Sun and Uranus, okay, in Taurus. The Sun and Uranus in Taurus are about changes to the physical world, and some miraculous changes, okay, and God inspired. This here, you could say that if miracles had an astrological sign, it would be this: Uranus and the Sun conjunct right next to each other like this. And that if we needed miraculous changes on Earth, it would be Uranus and the Sun in Taurus that would do that, okay? And it's flanked here. The Sun is flanked by Victory, a little over 2 degrees away, Victoria. That's an asteroid. But it gives the flavor here of coming success. You also have, in about 6 degrees away, the head of the dragon, okay? So over many, many past lifetimes, right? Over the eons of human history, or the hundreds, thousands of years, okay? How will we bring our soul purpose out in a new way? The head of the dragon. What's the new way? And we have the energy for enacting that. That's right here in this string. Okay, it's all about the children. Okay, Sedna. The story of Sedna is the daughter thrown overboard by her father. Okay, abandoned. And I get it's just emotional here. And the children that have been unknowingly abandoned, traumatized in all the terrible ways that has happened. Now, this has been coming into our consciousness as a society now here in the United States of America, but this is just my very strong intuitive hit, and based upon the stories of people who I have worked with. okay? Knowing their stories. There is so much more here that is going to come out and needs to come out. Not just on the side of the female children, but the male children. Okay, that's a big thing that has not yet been addressed in a I think it's coming into focus now. But the abuse of children on who are male and female, all children. We saw this with the eclipses in the fall. The story of Sedna was highlighted. And here you have Sedna exactly conjunct Pluto. Pluto is about death, but also rebirth. So Pluto supports actually this story coming out now, the airing of dirty laundry, okay? The airing of the horrible things that have happened, bringing it to the news. And having personally heard these stories, well, some of these stories, while they are very terrible, it's my view that we need to buck up and understand what has happened and be willing to listen, be willing to look, be willing to, without traumatizing ourselves. So if one is too traumatized in doing this, it simply adds to the trauma and doesn't make any sense to do it. Okay, but if one can bring the light of prayer, if one can bring the love of, doing energy work with unconditional love, if one can bring an actual purely centered state of meditation to this, then that contributes to healing. So it's a personal choice. It's not for everyone, for sure. I had a friend who used to look at pictures of World War II and pray for the individuals in the pictures. So, it's like that. You do what you're called to do. But I feel that this is a huge part of the story. Acknowledging and rectifying and redeeming ourselves as a society over what has happened to the children is critical to moving forward. It's almost the beginning of the wing here, okay? And the beginning would be here at Mercury. We're going to be talking about this. It will come into our awareness because Mercury's in Gemini, its home sign, okay? And it's in the third house here, which is the house of communication, that tells you that this energy of this Schumann wave supports discussion, supports bringing this out into the open. And it's... it's sextile Varuna, so there's going to be consequences here. This is a part of the story, and it's trine Metis, so the wise counselor. We will be able to bring wisdom in looking at these energies. Okay, and Lilith is about 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees away from this Mercury semi-sextile, so she's in the background. In Cancer, where she's not that comfortable. And Lilith is what we have left behind, what we have denied, what we have not been able to accept in our lives. I always see Lilith as a queen who's in some ways been cast out or she feels alienated for some reason. And Lilith can be so rageful, and she's rageful here in the home, about what has happened. So her energy contributes, and her energy is very potent and powerful. I know that she's an asteroid, but she is very potent. And she's still got Ceres coming up on her here for 6 degrees away. So it's wide for asteroids, but in the background, the love of the mother in the home, the 4th house here in Gemini, backs up Lilith. Okay, so you've got all of these goddesses. You've got all of these goddesses supporting this string here. On the left side of the sun, on the other side of the sun, or you might say, you might say it's at the beginning in the progression here, but I keep calling this Mars. Mercury is the activator here, but is Pallas Athena. Okay, so Pallas Athena is very wide here, but in the same sign. So I'm going to include it because it's 12 degrees from Uranus. But I'm going to include this because Pallas Athena sort of stands off to the side. She stands off wide to the side, but she supports heroes. She gives us the tool sets. She gives the hero the tool set to complete the journey, to win. Okay, so in the background we have divine support because she's an aspect of femininity supporting us here. We also have Eris to the left of her. Okay, so well in Aries, and Eris in Aries extremely powerful with her brother Mars, who rules Aries, and Eris causing discord. So this is wide, okay, because the discord has already started. We've already been given our tool set, so these are a bit wider in the string. The core of the story is dramatic sudden changes, right? And it all relates to talking about this critical issue that requires healing on the earth. Sedna is still in Taurus, okay? Now, the other side of the wing here, okay, so it's almost like Chiron is flying, right? And that makes so much sense. Chiron flies this wing on one side, this wing on the other. Chiron is the master healer. Okay, so Chiron is about creating self-mastery, right? By addressing your inner woundings or physical woundings, right? And what these things mean for us, evolving ourselves accordingly. There's a lot of energy for this with Chiron in Aries. So the way what the woundings are and how they will be healed are on this wing to the side, this wing and this wing to the left and right of Chiron. So on this side of Chiron, right, we have Mars and Venus. This is the other part of the story. Venus is in Aries, so she's the activator here for the story. Now, all for the past few months, I've seen Venus and Mars. They came together in Capricorn, and then Mars has chased her. You know, they entered hand in hand. They entered Aquarius together up here. They passed by Pluto. It was a very tough time. You know, they were burned down. You know, all of their detritus, right? All the woundings, all the traumas were burned down to the core. Okay, as they passed Pluto, the soul, the truth of who they were elevated. And Mars has been chasing Venus. The masculine's been chasing the feminine ever since. Okay, so the activator of the story now, the forward part of this movement is Venus. She leads this part of the wing. And I feel that this is about the relationship between men and women, between the male and the female. Okay, and this is critical to life in the home, what it means to be a couple. How do we stay together? How do we raise children together? How do we grow old together? How do we build a home that supports the value of who we are, the value of the human race? Okay, that supports our love unfolding for each other, that supports the children so that they grow up in a home that is loving, you know, that is kind, that honors them as divine children of the Creator. Well, these are our hopes and dreams here, Neptune and Jupiter together. Okay, these are our hopes and dreams for each other. But Venus is separated from Mars in this story right now. The male and the female is, you know, hasn't quite come together. They're at odds quite a bit. Okay, there needs to be a rectification. Okay, they did that somewhat as they came through Capricorn together and into Aquarius. Okay, and they thought about what will the future look like. But now it's time to do the work. Okay, this is the face. This is in the first house. Look how big this first house is. And all of it is flavored by Aquarius. And the first house includes Pisces with an Aquarian flavor, Aries with an Aquarian flavor. Okay, so this is all about moving into the new age and what things will look like and our deepest hopes and dreams for the unfolding of our life as we proceed forward together. Okay, but the activation of this, of the changes that need to come for the home, come from the women. The activation of healing the deep woundings of Chiron here. Okay, the deep woundings in our society. start with the women. It's up to the women to start this and to bring this forward, to live it. And you have seen that so much over the past months. You have seen women and men, okay? But the women have been just knocking this out, right? They've been going to the schools. They've been going to, and has it been men and women together? Yes, okay? But just from personal experience looking around at what is going on in the county, the women are the talkers, okay? The women are the talkers. The men might, I just, I'm honoring the differences here between the expressions of the energy. But the women, what I have seen locally, the women are the organizers, the women are the talkers. Are the men there showing up, acting, doing? Yes. Okay, but the women are like, we're going to do this way, and we're going to organize this, and I'm going to get and where's the money, and who's going to make the flyers and all this stuff. Anyway, it's delightful. I've been just so gratified and amazed to see this, especially locally here where I live. It's just been an incredible blessing and wondrous. Now, Venus is, if you remember, we were looking at 4 degrees in the other story, okay? So Venus is at 4. What else do you have here near 4? 2 degrees. She's backed up by Pallas Athena, okay, 30 degrees away about. She's backed up by Mercury. Oh, is she going to start talking about this? Oh, yes, she is, okay? She's exact with Mercury in Gemini, okay? Is she pissed? Yes. She's in square with Lilith. 1, 2, 3. Is she wanting justice? Yes. She's exact with Varuna. Okay. Does she know what she's doing? Yes. She's semi-sextile with Metis, the wise counselor. Okay. Is she looking out for everyone? She's not just looking out for herself here. She has Juno within 1.5 degrees, the clan mother, the goddess of the heavens. Okay. Married to Jupiter, married to Zeus, depending on if you're looking at Greek or Roman mythology. Okay. She is looking out for her people. Remember I talked about Lilith being the queen, okay? Lilith is a little too pissed to do anything right now. It's Venus who's active here, okay? Venus, the goddess of love, the goddess of true value, the truest value within any human being the divinity that they are, and the way that divinity wishes to express through the living human being. And where does that start? It starts in childhood. Okay, and it starts with having a childhood where we're raised up from the trauma. Remember that Sedna rises from the ocean, becomes the goddess of the ocean, and then nurtures, right? Sailors ask her for food, right? For fish, for good weather. Okay, so when the divine feminine heals herself, she becomes a blessing to the men around her. She becomes a blessing to her home. She becomes a blessing to life itself. And Mars, the male, is in love with her. Mars loves this. I mean, it drives him wild with passion for her, with desire for her. He's in Pisces where he's not comfortable, but where he can explore his hopes and dreams, and where he can see where life has been ruined, where society has been damaged, where he has been hurt. It's really quite powerful. And Mars is very important here. It's 4 degrees, okay, from, she's at 16, this is at 12. So it's 4 degrees off of the ascendant and descendant. And it's only about 2 degrees, 2 plus, 2 to 3 from the midheaven NIC. So the midheaven being sort of, if God were making a decision here of how this would all unfold, that would be the midheaven, okay, divine purpose unfolding. So let's see here. Before we move on to that, I want to also say the sun here and Uranus, miracles, dramatic changes, striking sudden changes that at first create havoc, is in the 2nd house, okay? So divine will says we will express what Venus desires, right? Divine will enact the value. Divine will cause a restructuring here, right? Because Uranus is what strikes the towers, causing completely new. The towers are done. We have to rebuild from the ground up. And Uranus supports the vision of Venus here, okay, and the healing of society. We become masters. We move into the mastery of what does it take to have a home? What does it take to live my life? I go, who am I? How do I express this? Right? How do I heal the trauma, my trauma of the past? How do I fully express myself and live my hopes and dreams? It's so beautiful. And you see the geometry here, okay? It's like a cup holding all of this, right? A cup. And it's not easy because you've got all these squares in red. You have all the support in all the sextiles. Okay, and then you have these trines with like, oh, here's all this great stuff happening, and strangely, it comes from Pluto. Okay, you've got a lot of trines here from Pluto, and then from Destiny to the Sun and Uranus. So where is all this pointing? Let's look at the midheaven. That's not the. Let me just see here. I'm going to check off. Have I gotten everything? We have 2 more things to discuss. It's all pointing to health and wellness. The healing of the sicknesses in our society, the healing of the pandemic of the brokenhearted, the healing of what has broken us, what has broken our society, what has damaged us, the damage that we have caused through not taking self-responsibility, through not being connected with the divinity that we are. Because when we have open access to our own soul, to the level of guidance of God, the Most High, the Creator of the universe, to the understanding that we're divine children who deserve to live as a living human being and a living soul incarnate, to have a future, to embody our talents, to live our lives, to have a happy home. We deserve all of this. And so Hygiea is here. Okay, is what everything is pointing to and working towards. And there's secrets here, right? It's in Scorpio. Life and death is involved, okay? Because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, which is over here in the 12th house. Again, the house of the shadow. It requires us, the completion of this requires us addressing the shadow aspects to develop the personal structure, to address the shadow aspects that have been present in the home, have been present in society, have been present in our own lives. It starts with you first in your own life, because that's what matters to you, right? And as you heal yourself, you create energetic templates. You create a momentum, and it's picked up by all those around us, right? And expressed forward. Look at this wave of energy that went around the planet, right? It's incredible. My fan just came on in the background. And it's a review. Hygiea is in retrograde. Okay, so there's going to be like a detailed review here. But we've got this, right? God has our back. Miracles are going to occur. It might be challenging, but we've got this. We will move forward. We will create the structures that enhance life. And what drives this? God's vision for us of the future. Sagittarius pointing arrows into the future, flanked by the part of fortune, the highest body on the chart. Okay, the part of fortune. Luck, what will unfold. So the last thing I want to do here is discuss the Sabian symbols for these energies and show you how they relate with this entire story. The Sabian symbol for the sun is a symbolic battle between swords and torches, Taurus 17. So you use the evolved degree. Refusing to depend upon the past, the seeker turns warrior, fighting anew the eternal, quote, great war, end quote. So it's really talking here about darkness and light, right? The battle, the spiritual battle, if you will. But on an individual level, how does this express, right? It's about turning towards the divinity that we are or turning away from it. And learning to have the inner discernment to even tell those things apart. Having the will to activate, moving towards what we wish to unfold in our lives. It's about human evolution and where that is going. It's about the merging of dualities or the expression of dualities and your personal choices related to that. Taurus 15 is where Uranus is at. A head covered with a rakish silk hat muffled against the cold. Or his head, covered. A man braves a storm. So this is about building character under adverse circumstances. Uranus conjunct the sun is not necessarily fun in the moment. It can be it could be disastrous. But it can also bring the shocks that free up the structure we've been living in that just wasn't right for us. That what we knew wasn't really what we wanted, but we're having a hard time changes. Well, Uranus makes the changes, and then we get to deal with the results of that and make new choices. So this degree is about the courage needed to meet the crises precipitated by social ambition. What does that mean, social ambition? Look around you. Do you like what you see in general in society? Right? If we're going to change the society, it starts with changing the individual, with living it. Right? Okay. The next symbol that I want to look at is the moon. Okay, the meeting of a literary society at Cancer 23. The moon is critical here because the moon says, I want security, I want stability, I want to build a proper home. This is about an objective and critical approach to the common factors in our culture and to its psychological problems, which are in full display at the moment, aren't they, in our society? So to win here, there's an intellectual approach, and we saw a lot of that in the Schumann chart, right? Look at where Mercury was. Venus is conjunct Mercury. Venus and Mercury, two of the key factors in the chart, right? To bring about the change that Saturn in Uranus conjunct Vesta is asking for. Change to structures, change to the human structure, to my human self, right? What can I do to change myself to bring about sacredness in myself and in my home? So the way that we unfold this, right, according to this Sabian symbol, according to this degree, is to bring into the physical that which is a subconscious urge, right? The impulse within us. The subconscious is a reflection of the divinity within. It can also be a space where our traumas are held. But when we heal the traumas, it's where the communication with divinity happens. And to bring that into physical form, that is the most amazing adventure on earth. And here we are with Uranus in the sun, in Taurus, the earth, waiting to make that happen. Bam, miracles abound. The other key symbol here is Sagittarius 13, okay? So this is where the midheaven is. The midheaven, oh goodness, it refers to spiritual ancestry, okay? So from a personal point of view, points to the greatness of a soul's past achievements and the value of trying to re-evoke this past. So what is this saying? Okay, the moon wants to be safe. Wants to be safe in Cancer. Cancer's in the 6th house. We have to work for it. And where do we look to? The midheaven. We look to our past. We look to traditional values, to traditional expressions of where have we been happiest in human culture, in our homes? What is the traditional relationship between the male and the female? What are the talents of women? We've made the talents of women all about being like men. What is the divine feminine really about? What is the divine masculine really about? What is the proper expression of these so that we build proper structure within ourselves and within the home, right? No wonder there's so much confusion abounding, right? And there's deep compassionate love for these terrible situations and what people are going through. But there's a power in our spiritual ancestry, okay? And I am relying on the interpretation of the Sabian Symbols here by Dane Rudyard. So the Sphinx and the pyramid are the symbol of Sagittarius 13. These are great long-term expressions of human culture. And it goes even deeper than that, but the seed, right, of our existence. That's what we're talking about here through history. Now, this is beautiful. Okay, I want to end on this. Part of fortune, the highest point in the chart, is at Sagittarius 7. Cupid knocks at the door of a human heart. Now, the way Andrea described this, I love what she said. Fall in love helplessly. Like when love just grabs you and it's all that you can do to just be, you are in it. It's everything you live and breathe. The stirring up of individual longings for romantic love, the emotional rebirth here is what we long for. You see it in the side of the wing of Chiron, where Mars, the male, the masculine, and Venus, the feminine, flank our deepest desires, hopes, and dreams. Neptune conjunct Jupiter, okay? And Jupiter at 29 degrees, there's a karmic expression here. It goes back to what the symbol for the midheaven is, right? It's karmic. It's over lifetimes, okay? We want to get back to true love and what the expression of this really looks like for the individual in the human body, for our romantic relationships that then move into a home together and build out a proper foundation for the family. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. It's incredible. And it's incredible motivation for what we can unfold, what this wave of Schumann resonance desires. But, when you look at the moon here in Cancer, in its own sign, Cancer ruling the 6th house. The 6th house is about work, health, how we do these things. How do we unfold our highest health? How do we unfold the work that we, bring to the world, right? How do we want the world to look? Our emotions about this are critically important in terms of what we want to build in the home. No wonder this whole idea of, people building houses in the woods, all these, I just saw a video about that this morning. This man is just doing this incredible, like he's got the axe and he's building the home and he's crafting this huge trunk of a tree to be the frame, okay, of the door. And this is such a big theme right now, and what people are looking at, what people are watching. Okay, we're watching people build homes from the ground up. There's tiny houses. This is a huge thing. The traditional way of building a cabin in Western culture, of building homes. It's really on people's mind. But these things aren't easy, and they take work, and they take accessing our ancestral wisdom, and really powerfully the wisdom of women, okay? Because the women were the carers, the women were the nurturers, the women knew about herbs and natural medicine. Of course, there were shaman as well, Okay, but this is an aspect that has been removed from our society. The ability for women to nurture, to heal, to recognize illness, and to understand how to address it, to look at a person. We don't, without mechanical testing and say, okay, let's do an assessment. All right, how can we heal this? All right, what herbs do we have? What's the natural medicine? And these things are not easy, and they require new structures to bring them back and to properly honor them, to properly honor the contribution of, true femininity, true feminine wisdom. Here, Metis, sextile Venus. So, in the end, it's all about love, and it's all about the healing of our physical bodies, the healing of our emotional bodies. And do we use the intellect to do that? Here, Mercury in Gemini, yes. So do you see why do you see why I like to unfold the astrology as a story? Because if you have Scorpio as prominent in your chart, you can see where the story is coming together for you. If you have Sagittarius prominent in your chart, okay, you can see where that part of the story is big for you. If you have Pluto, big in your chart, you may be facing challenges, right? Health challenges or whatever it happens to be, the challenge of unfolding your true soul, right? And Pluto right now is retrograde at 28 degrees. 28 degrees is the Sabian symbol for the United States, right? A large aviary. So there's a review going on here too for our country, the United States. And 28 degrees is the Sabian symbol of many recent agreements between Russia and China that were announced earlier this year. So the United States, Russia, and China all, have this symbol as prominent, which is very, very interesting. Okay, so, and this is above the horizon. Okay, Pluto, the only planet above the horizon right now, visible to the world stage, right, about societal happenings. So this energy supports the unfolding of whatever that is between the United States, Russia, and China, right? Pluto is living at 28 degrees. It has been unfolded. It's in retrograde, so it's a review. What is a large aviary? There's so much that's similar between that and this. And now I'm not using the unfoldment of the expression, right? I'm not going to 27 degrees or 29 because where the planet is, that's fully formed. Okay, so a large aviary. You think about a country, and you think about the United States, okay? That's what we're like. We have a cacophony of voices, right? You think about birds in a humongous tent, right? Aviary. And when I see this symbol, it's just the aviary is huge, and it's got all sorts of different kinds of birds, right? And they're all squawking and singing and doing all of this, but they're living peacefully together. They're living peacefully together. And what structure supports us doing that? Okay, so this is in review, but it's unfolded and it's above the horizon. There have already been agreements made and in place. And it's interesting because I did this too, right? I said the Pluto return for the United States would be February 22nd. That's when Pluto got to 2733. That's the Pluto return of the United States. But actually then I was listening to Leo King, and he said something that was very insightful, which is the Pluto for the United States was in retrograde. And do you know when Pluto will be retrograde for the first time since the American Revolution? At 27 degrees and 33 seconds. It will be July 11th, 2022. So in about two months from the making of this video. So in about a week, 7 days after July 4th. Independence Day in the United States of America. So you could say that the true Pluto return of the United States of America, where Pluto is retrograde at 27 degrees and 33 minutes for the first time since the American Revolution, is July 11th, 2022. Take that to heart, okay? And I don't think it's an accident that Russia and China made major agreements that ally at the same degree. Pluto was at 27 degrees when they made those agreements that were announced this winter. They've made other agreements that were announced actually on July 4th. I forget what year, but it was in the last 1, 2, or 3 years. So it looks to me like despite the horrible news out in the mass media, there's an alignment of energies of the 3 major powers on Earth. Okay, and I'm not addressing Brazil yet, because Brazil is obviously a huge upcoming player here. But yeah, I think there's an alignment behind the scenes that we're unaware of somehow. I don't know how that's possible given the news, but that's what the energies seem to tell me. So that's the good news. And who wouldn't want that given the current state of affairs on Earth? Who wouldn't want, a renewal of the human spirit and of love, right? Under the auspices of divinity to build for the future, human beings in a proper relationship to themselves and the home and the family that builds strong societies, Aquarius, okay? And that is supported by divinity itself unfolding this through miraculous changes with Chiron, the self-mastery and healing, driving the unfoldment as we learn to heal ourselves and we do the work to create emotional stability in ourselves and in our homes, okay? Flanked by the knowledge that that which is not in alignment with these divine principles, okay, suffer the dissolution of their plans. And Pluto into 12th house as well. So, what a beautiful unfoldment. Fall in love, hope helplessly, and start, perhaps, with falling in love with yourself and the whole of who you are.